subcontractors, and what that looks like, and where's
we
the
talked about
corruption.
GCs. So now,
Right.
now how do you identify a good subcontractor, right? And
Right.
what's the step one? So historically, what I've done is obviously referrals are key, right? You know, who's the best in the stone business? And you find out, you get 3-4 names, and that's probably going to some architects too, calling architects and really doing your, or getting a referral from an owner's rep. But let's just say that you're an owner and that you're relying on your GC to get all these guys, but that's sketchy because if they bring all their guys in,
Right.
you don't know the deals they have
Under the table.
under the
that you
table.
would never know about.
Right. But let's just say you're an owner, but you have a specific concern that you want maybe a great stone job or cabinetry job, let's say. Let's
Right.
use a cabinetry thing.
Okay.
What I would do if I'm a homeowner is I'm making calls, right, to some friends in the area, like, hey, who'd you have? You know, worked well. And let's just say I identify 1 to 2 really good subcontractors, at least on referral basis.
Mm-hmm.
My first move is, as a homeowner, is like, hey, could I come visit your shop? Now, most owners won't do that, right? You know, that's again why at home, like an owner's rep would be, you know, useful in this instance. But let's just say that they're not in place yet. I would encourage owners to go get in a car, go find that facility. Sometimes they're on the best places, but they're big shops. And a good shop will tell you a lot about the subcontractor, their front office. You know, you call ahead, say, hey, can I come by? Some will say, oh, okay. And then some will be like, hey, absolutely, I'd love that. You know, and that's obviously what we want to hear too. Like someone says, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to flex. I'm going to show you what I got at my shop, and
Right.
we're
They're
humming.
proud.
They're proud.
And they don't want to hide it.
Right.
It's almost the first signal.
Yeah. So that's a good indicator that you're having a good guy. But let's just say then you've got those 2 meetings, 2 different subcontractors, 2 different cabinet guys. You do your meeting. You know, I would be really thoughtful when I walk through that shop. Back to your point, you know, how they're running safety. You know, what's their safety look like? How they taking care of their workers? What do you see on, you know, are their trucks all banged up? You know,
Yeah.
I would take a really good assessment of the shop and even go, Shay, can I look at some cabinets and some boxes? Can I look at that product? Because that's what I do as a owner's rep. There's not many subcontractors that, you know, you and I have been involved with on our sites that we haven't went and looked at their shops.
Right.
Because that's just how I roll.
Right.
I've got to go see them,
Check the
shake their hand,
Right.
see them face to face, go look at their facility and say, show me what you can do, man. And some will love it. And some are like, hell no, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out of my trailer over here and it's, you know, they do something out of a garage, whatever. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they're not proud
Right.
about their setup. Once you identify a good setup, then that's the first, I think, indicator that you have a good subcontractor. The second thing is, you know, I would make some calls and say, do they do what they say they're going to do? And I'm just talking on a timely basis, not even quality yet. Do they show up when they say they're going to show up? Do they bring you the samples when they say they're going to bring the samples? You know, are they Johnny on the spot?
But who do you ask for that? Who are you calling?
Well, again, like I said, we've identified 2 subcontractors. Remember I said the owners
Right.
have identified 2. Now they went and made those visits. Now the question is, you make those calls and say, hey, can I get some samples on stuff? And you just watch their reaction. You know, how do they return phone calls? You know, do they return the phone call a day later?
So test it yourself.
Well, they've got to feel like, you know, how are they doing business early on before you sign that contract?
I'm more thinking like you could probably find their old projects, because almost
I was gonna
every
get to that,
subcontractor
100%.
has pictures of their old projects and the addresses. They love to promote their products.
So that can also be tricky, because I might say to somebody, hey, I got this client. Can I, you know, remember I helped you a little bit with that countertop, but you did the yeah. Can I help with that? You know, so you have to also identify what they actually did on that job specifically.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes, like, I remember you and I met somebody, it was an AV guy, but he said he did all this work. He was a laborer at the time, working for the other company,
Yeah.
but he referred to that job as a job he did.
Yeah.
But he really wasn't the main guy.
He was just a worker.
He was a worker,
Yeah.
right? So he
Crazy.
self-promoted himself on
Yeah.
another job. So again, there's so much due diligence up front to find those good guys. But I mean, I really think a good owner, I mean, not a good owner, but an owner can identify someone when they come to the site. Again, it's kind of old school, but how do you present yourself? You know, how do they respond to the owner? Are they timely?
Right.
That's, again, just an indicator. Doesn't mean they're going to perform well.
So that was step 2.
That's step 2. The next step is with a good thing, you know, how do they do their shop drawings and do they turn them around in a timely manner? What does that look like? So I think that going on to a subcontractor with caution early on and slowly is the best avenue, because these are, you know, you're gonna sign a contract for some of these cabinet jobs for $500,000.
Yeah.
There's no need to rush that relationship,
Right.
right? So once you identify that, you find out about their shop, you know, you make sure that they're obviously licensed, what's their insurance, make sure their insurance in place. I usually ask as an owner's rep to, you know, make sure that their single occurrence goes up. I kind of get extra insurance for my clients just because I know how it can go, and I make sure that there's
always things.
Well, it's pennies to the insurance carrier for these people to add additional insurance
Right.
money to these jobs, but it's also critical to put that in place prior to the job site. But I think those are good indicators that you're dealing with a decent subcontractor, right? A good subcontractor. Back to what you said, good referrals, go look at their sites. Do they do what they say? Do they show up? Are they answering emails? Are they responsive? What is their demeanor? How do they act? You know, those are good indicators, right? And then let's just say you get a good subcontractor, and even then they can sometimes stumble or fall down. But
Right.
at that point, that's life. You know,
Right.
trucks do break down. Unfortunately, there are accidents. There are delays in products. That's the reality of
happens.
our world. So, but at the end of the day, you want to know that you're dealing with an ethical, good subcontractor with good intentions. And that's sometimes harder to do for clients because, back to what you were saying before, sometimes they can be, you know, a wolf in sheep's clothing, and they can pretend to be
Yeah.
super kind and this, but they're really not that way.
I'm thinking of a specific subcontractor that we've had to deal with who was pretty good at his work, but when it came to interacting with him, pretty mean guy.
Yeah.
Pretty mean guy, but like great reputation, but like super mean.
Yeah.
And rude and
Right.
terrible.
And we decided we would never refer him
No.
again
No, he's
because
He's done.
he was one of those old school like prima donnas, and you kind of have to do, you know, you have to figure out what your poison is, right? Do you want a quality, great job with a prima donna, or do you want a really good sweetheart of a guy or a subcontractor that does average work? Obviously the ideal is the Goldilocks zone, the guy in the middle
Right.
that does all those things. That's not, you know, can deal with the client.
I mean, we have found those few
We have.
subcontractors who are
Yeah.
great in personality and great at what they do.
Yeah.
It's just you don't come on. They're not everywhere.
No, they're not everywhere, and especially in LA, yeah, they're just not everywhere, and we're finding out more and more. And then if you do find that guy, how do you lock them down fast?
Because they have so many projects
They have
going
so
on.
many projects,
Right.
you know, and you have to dangle that money. And if you're an owner that goes, well, I don't want to pay that money, and it's only another $1,000, then probably you're not thinking the right way as an owner. You need to incentivize some of these really good subs. It's going to cost you to get the top guys and stay on your site, you know,
Right.
and to get them to the job site.
You just want to make sure you have the real top guys, because there's the guys that'll say they're the top, and they are dog crap.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we've experienced a few of
But
those.
again, some owners sometimes won't know that, like until a product fails or whatever.
Right.
So again, it's a good place for an owner's rep to live and say, hey, I don't want to be this person, but it's part of my duty to protect you, Mr. and Mrs. Owner.
Yeah.
This wasn't put in properly, and
Which is always hard. to
they
tell.
just started the job,
Yeah.
and I'm going to stop them right now until I see a different application. But that's what our business is, you know, making sure that the work, you know, is quality at a fair price, you know, and that the owner is protected. At the same time, I don't want the owner to take advantage of the subcontractors.
Yeah.
I want them to be paid fairly.
Right.
But a good owner gets that and goes, yeah, we'll pay them whatever they want. We just don't want price gouging, bad quality, and they don't do what they say, or they drag the job out.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, most construction jobs, you know, if they're, I would say probably, I don't know, 95% of them get dragged out in some form or fashion, either through an owner change, an unforeseen condition, or a city change. They say,
Right.
hey, yeah, I didn't see this, this, and this. You need to add this. So subcontractors, to find that person, it's a little bit of a science to find a good subcontractor. And then once you find them, hold on to them. Get them donuts and coffee once in a
So,
while.
right. I mean, right. Just be a good person overall. But just to review, so step one for finding a good subcontractor, step one, what do we say? Step one.
Step one is you have to, you know, you're asking around getting a good referral.
Okay.
I think step two, you have to go go walk a facility of these subcontractors and
Right.
see how they run their operations. Three is you're kind of wanting to watch early on before you actually execute a contract, how they're being responsive to you. You know, what's their demeanor? How do they respond in emails? Are they being prompt on their phone calls? I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care what people say, our construction industry is based on communication. It's
Right.
based on communication, communication, communication,
Right.
over communication. And once you have a guy that's even a good guy that can't communicate or doesn't respond or doesn't get back in a timely manner, it's frustrating, not just for the owner, but for the owner's reps,
For everyone.
because you can't schedule someone you can't talk to.
Right.
So that becomes a nightmare. So I think those are early on triggers to like, am I dealing with a good guy? Or am I dealing with someone who's gonna be a problem? And you
Right.
got to be able to say, yeah, he was referred to me, but gosh, he's not my guy.
The cheapest sub is not always the best option.
Most of the time, he's not the best
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
So